You see that there is a problem with the concept of the eating habits and also pertaining to the weight.
Since I have anxiety, not just with generally with my environment, but I had anxiety with my body image because there's an unrealistic expectations on women to have this slim figure.
Most of us watch what we eat. After all, eating right is important to keep us healthy. But abnormal eating behaviors can affect someone differently. So today, we'll shed light on the different disorders and talk about how we can help manage the condition. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to Med Talk Health Talk. Eating disorders are characterized by disturbances in someone's thoughts, someone's behaviors, and attitudes towards food and eating in general. Now, to tell us more about this, let's welcome to the show Dr. Maria Bernadette Arcena, who is a psychiatrist at St. Luke's Medical Center. We're also joined by Joy May Chua, who is a co-founder of Eating Disorder Awareness Philippines. Now, I'll start the discussion kay Dr. Babes. Marami naman sa atin ang minsan kumakain ng sobra. We gain a few pounds. Some of us don't eat enough because probably may hinahabol tayong weight, lose drastically a vast amount of weight by not eating enough. Eating disorder na ba yun?
Eating disorder comes when your functioning is disrupted. Lahat na ng functions ng buhay mo ay talagang hindi na okay.
Is there some common factor or risk factor for someone developing a eating disorder?
You see that there is a problem with the concept of the eating habits and also pertaining to the weight. So when you talk about anorexia nervosa, you can see that they are really losing weight and they feel like they need to lose weight more. Parang ganun yung konsepto. And then you can see that there's really an extreme weight loss. When you talk about bulimia, this is what we term as binge eating, wherein they thought that they need to eat more, and then when they eat more, they feel so guilty about it, and they feel like, oh my God, I have to get it out of the system, yung pagkain, and that's where they try to choke themselves, or they do something para matanggal yung food sa kanilang bunganga. So that's the difference, but they maintain a normal weight.
Dr. Babes, is eating disorders, bulimia, anorexia, common ba ito sa mga Filipinos dito sa Pilipinas? May age group ba? Ito ba'y nangyayari lang sa mga kabataan or all age groups?
The concept of the self starts usually during the teenage years. So, nandun yung akala mo, wala kang nagkakagusto sa'yo, the peer pressure is there. So, it usually would start at the adolescent years. With regards to the Philippine setting, parang we are still underdiagnosed with that, no? And usually people don't go to the doctor not unless if there is an extreme necessity to do it. Like for example, hindi na kumakain, kailangan na iswero. That's how bad it is, Freddy.
May, I'd like to ask, your organization, which is Eating Disorders Awareness of the Philippines, is fairly new. So how did this go about? How did you guys start?
Well, it started way back in mid-2020 during the pandemic, the first months of lockdown. I've noticed that there's no organization or Facebook group or page where it advocates eating disorder, and hesitant po ako nung una. Back then, it was a stigma to talk about or a taboo to talk about mental health. But I decided to create one because I think I would like to advocate and raise more awareness of it. And I started it as a small Facebook group and page in June 2020. Nagulat na lang po ako na padami ng padami. It went from like 10 members to 100. Now I'm not sure, but I think more than 200 members na po.
So this is more of an initiative with you and other like-minded individuals in trying to provide a space for those, like what you said, wala kang makita, you felt like you needed to talk to someone about this, wala kang makita, so this was an initiative. Dr. Babes, when it comes to eating disorders, how does someone approach a psychiatrist? Is it the patient themselves or is it the people around them?
Actually, it's the family goes. And we tell the doctor na, Doc, there's really something wrong with my son or daughter. Tapos the doctor will say, wala naman akong problema, no? So there's the denial on the part that something is wrong.
May, you were actually diagnosed by a psychiatrist to have anxiety disorder. How did this affect your relationship with food, if at all?
Since I have anxiety not just with my environment, but I had anxiety with my body image because there's an unrealistic expectations on women to have this slim figure. But specifically in my case, I wanted to look really slim because I thought it will cover up or fill the void of my anxiety. It affected my relationship with food to the point that I restricted myself. I ate less than the required calories and I restricted and I over-exercised, and I thought that would help my anxiety to ease up, but actually it got worse.
Is it safe for me to say it was a self-image perception?
Yes.
Which probably triggered that. And that's actually something interesting because that's what we will talk about after the break. When it comes to bulimia and anorexia, is it mainly about self-image, which is the question here? Stay tuned to MedTalk Health Talk to find out. Eating disorders are more common than we think, and they're characterized by unhealthy eating habits, to say the least. So you can eat too little or you can even eat too much. Let's welcome back psychiatrist Dr. Maria Bernadette Arsena of St. Luke's Medical Center and Joy Michua, who is a co-founder of Eating Disorder Awareness Philippines. Doc Babes, let's talk about anorexia. Let's talk a little bit about bulimia as well. Is it mainly the self-image, self-perception of the person, which is this sort of the springboard for them to get into either anorexia or bulimia?
Actually, Freddie, the self-image is really a big part of the eating disorders. And if you take a look at how it started, it would usually start at the adolescent years, wherein your mind is, fixated on being accepted by everyone and the concept of models being so slim and so sexy. So, the self-image, especially if in the family, you don't get it, the affirmation that you're good, you're loved, you're taken care of, and you're simply beautiful, it's not affirmed. And there you go into the aspects of in school ba, am I okay, am I accepted? All these things talaga, Freddie, matters, to a person with eating disorders. And mind you, it's not only an eating disorder. There are always concomitant psychiatric issues like anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and depression.
What are other red flags, Doctora, or what types of situations may predispose or may put someone at risk for not just siguro an eating disorder, but some mental health issues? One thing that pops to mind are relationships. How can relationships be a trigger for an eating disorder?
Relationships are very important because it's where you get the feeling na I belong. So in the family, if you are accepted, loved, and tanggap ka, no matter what your body figure is, you will come out very strong, very able to accept things as they are. It is very important that relationships really are good for you not to have an eating disorder. But, Freddie, hindi naman ganun ka-perfect ang buhay, no? So, for me, you're yourself. Your self-esteem should be good because if you have a poor self-esteem, there goes the problems with being anxious, being worried, and being depressed.
Now, May, do you think in your generation, for that matter, the younger generation, do you think the society predisposes a lot of kids now to have an eating disorder or puts them at risk of an eating disorder? You mentioned about the ideal figure which a woman will have or an ideal figure which a man would have. Do you think these external pressures contribute to not just an eating disorder, but mental health in general?
I do think the unrealistic expectations for our generations with millennials and Gen Z, there's a huge factor of it. Not just with eating disorder, but mental health in general. Especially with media, social media nowadays, like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, we have this unrealistic body image. And then I think that would trigger a lot of people in my generation to look slim when it's gonna have unhealthy consequences. So in my generation, in my experience itself, so get triggered a lot like that back then. When I see, women around my age who was having a very slim body, and most of them are models. I used to be obsessed with that idea. And I think I'm just not alone with that. I think a lot of people in my generation experience that, again, not just in my gender with women, but men and with other genders as well.
I'm sure what you've been feeling, marami din na Filipinos, both men and women, are also in the same boat as you are when it comes to self-perception, social media, and whatnot. Does your organization cater to that or address that, giving, that positive self-image for people? Maybe they're trying to look for someone to talk to about that. Does your organization provide that?
Yes, we do. At least once a month, we have a webinar where a group of the members on our support group would discuss about this. And we did talk about the unrealistic body expectations, especially on social media. As an advocate, I realized that too much social media can affect the body image of a person. And in my experience, I thought back then it was realistic to have this slim body while being healthy, but I realized I should, like what Doctora said, it's the self-esteem that affects the poor perception of body image.
Okay. Now, Doctora Babes, for parents watching this episode, of course, for any parent, they would like to protect their child from all that the world tries to do them, but it's just not possible. How can parents start that self-esteem, resilience in their children to be able to approach social media in a way that, it is there, but they have that resilience to understand what is real from not?
Parents should be buffers, actually. They should be the ones who's going to appreciate how good their children are. Despite the flaws, always focus on the strengths of your children. It's very important, Freddy, na sa bahay pa lang, no? The child should have a good concept about themselves. Because when they go out, they will feel more confident. They will feel like, hey, I'm good, because those are the qualities that my parents see in me. So start from the house, start from the basics. Learn to love your children no matter what their flaws are.
Okay, so it really starts early, way earlier than when all of these symptoms manifest. Because there are ways actually to also help those living with eating disorders and how they can overcome it. So more on this when we return. Keep it here on Med Talk, Health Talk. Eating disorders have become a growing concern, and it can affect people in all walks of life. Let's welcome back psychiatrist Dr. Maria Bernadette Arsena and co-founder of Eating Disorders Awareness Philippines, Joymi Chua. Going back to our discussion before we talk about the help that people can get for an eating disorder, I'd like to touch on fad diets. Dr. Babes, can fad diets be a springboard for an eating disorder?
Actually, it could be. The difficulty here is that other people would do more than that, no? And if you have anxiety or depression, you have to be very careful kasi pwede kang mag-overload nun. And the concept of the pressures, no, na mag-lose ka ng weight because of the fad diet is there. So, ingat lang, no? Make sure that you are guided also by your dietitian or nutritionist and then your psychiatrist.
Now, May, talking about how the road to recovery for someone who wants to feel better, eat healthier, how does your organization address this?
What we do is we always validate if one of our members or anyone who would like to know about eating disorder or they think they have the symptoms, we always validate what they feel. We are never dismissive on them because dismissive is like form of invalidating. So we also encourage them to seek treatment with a professional. Our organization is more on, again, raising awareness, but we're not really professionals. So what we do is we recommend them to seek a dietitian and a psychiatrist or psychologist to seek treatment.
Dr. Babes, when it comes to the road for recovery, what's usually the treatment protocol for someone diagnosed with an eating disorder? Gamot ba? Okay na? Therapy ba kailangan? Matagal ba ito? Mabilis lang ba? Give us an idea.
I have some patients wherein they seek treatment kasi they have to be hospitalized. Yun yung mga sobrang serious na ailments of bulimia and anorexia. What is the treatment? Actually, we do medications, we do psychotherapy sessions, supportive psychotherapy, and also the support of the family. Now, if they need to be admitted, like sobrang baba na ng kanilang calories or sobrang baba na ng kanilang sodium and potassium, we need to admit them. And at times, we need the gastroenterologist and the nutrition support for them. If the anxiety and depression are not treated, there's a big possibility also of a relapse. So, kailangan talaga ng merong compliance to the treatment and medications.
Now, Doctora, when it comes to trying to prevent things, things to be aware of, what advice can you give our viewers out there when it comes to eating disorders, mental health issues in general?
Always remember that it is a disorder. It's not you, and worth living for yung buhay mo. Always remember that everything is possible with treatment and the concept na tanggap mo no matter who you are, no matter what your size is.
Okay, very good. And for May, looking forward that your organization really becomes a strong organization, because what you're trying, your initiative and what you're trying to do will definitely help a lot of people, both men and women. What advice can you give to those, especially those who may be struggling with self-image issues, possible mental health issues?
My advice: to seek help. Do not invalidate yourself, and do not be ashamed, because mental health issues isn't something that we choose. And as much as possible, share your struggles to a trusted person or a loved one or a family member, so you'll have a full support. And lastly, I do think that you have to establish a good self-esteem by investing more on a good relationship to yourself and self-love as well.
Very good words there. Thank you so much, May Chua, for joining us. And Dr. Babes Arsena, thank you once again for joining us for this very relevant topic. If you're struggling with an eating disorder or you know someone who is experiencing it, please don't hesitate to seek professional treatment, professional consultation right away. Let's provide them with the support and love that they need. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for joining us here on MedTalk Health Talk.